Hello, everyone. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is a surprise. I'm coming back. Why? Because, and I'm coming back live out of the weekend, and suddenly. It is because I was called, this is 3 or 4 days now, that Ed and Lorraine Warren have come, who I have spoke to already, and there is a video out. This is the second conversation with them. Why? Well, they quite clearly, and there was an argument there between them. There was an argument between both of them, saying this. Don't she was saying, her soul was saying, "Let it be, let it be, let it be," and then Ed's soul was saying, "Don't you understand? Don't you understand? This is important. This is important." And finally, Ed came through clearer and said, "You don't understand. You don't understand. You have given us the possibility to speak, but did not move us along, did not move us along." And so what I did find out is that they were earthbound. They were earthbound. Now, what this session is for is to ritualize their passing, and we will be doing that together. And then we're going to ask them questions. Okay. Now, let me call in third order too. And there's still opposition here between Lorraine and Ed, saying, "Just let it be, let it be." And Ed is, of the two, more apt to say, "You don't understand, Lorraine. This is our chance." And it's gone. They are gone. They are gone. All right. For those of you who have just can't come in and don't know them at all. All right. This is a session to have a conversation with Ed and Lorraine Warren. Who were they? Ed and Lorraine Warren were members of the Roman Catholic Church, and I can say that they believed that demonic forces were likely to possess those who lacked faith. So this is their mentality. This is what their beliefs were. Ed Warren passed in 2006, and Lorraine Warren passed in 2019. They were paranormal, what we could say paranormal investigators, and they were authors associated with prominent cases of hauntings in buildings, in places, and Edward himself was a self-taught individual, and he was a self-taught demonologist and wrote about it, was a lecturer. And Lorraine declared herself to be clairvoyant and was a light trance medium. That means, like myself and like what I do with these cases when I go live most of the time, is that I'm in a light trance, who closely worked together, both Ed and Lorraine. Now, in 1952, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, which was quite innovative, NESPR, and it was the oldest ghost hunting group in the area of New England and the United States. They authored many books together about the paranormal and about their private investigations into the paranormal activity. And the Warrens were among the first investigators to talk about the Amityville haunting, which was famous in the United States. Let's see if they are now willing to come in and tell us about their experience with this passing, this movement into, from this peri-spiritual place. You'll see behind me I'm in a darker setting because I wanted it to be this way, and at times it will go darker and lighter, as you will see. They're saying it doesn't matter whether there's light or darkness. We are there all the time. We are there all the time. Ed is the one who's coming in more, and he's talking about a disaster, an imminent disaster. Nothing to do with the pandemic, but an imminent disaster of the 9/11 kind, of the 9/11, planes crashing into buildings and things like this, a disaster. It will not be in the United States, though. It's not going to be in the United States. It will be in Asian soil. It's not giving me a more precise area. And it will be a case of a similar tragedy, with planes crashing into buildings, and it will have more deaths than the 9/11 incident had. Lorraine is there, with her arms crossed, and almost I can hear the tapping of the leg. She's in this. She's showing herself as being very, very transparent. I see her as transparent. Where Ed, on the other hand, is there with this big white shirt, almost as if it's too large for him. The cuffs are way over his hands. And he's, waving his hands like this and saying, he's talking about, but you have to remember, and this is going to be that, and that's going to be that. So he is very, very talkative. How imminent is the imminence of this tragedy? It is going to be within, not this year, within a year from now, so June, a year, within that year time. And he's saying I can feel the energy among you. There are questions of, when will this pass? What is coming next? How did this person pass? How is this going? And how is that going? It's very interesting to see. He's saying it's interesting to hear your voices. He's hearing them as voices. They're loud and they're shouting one over each other. He's saying, but the questions that are being asked are not always very important. What is important is to understand, and Lorraine is coming in and saying, it's important for you to understand how to cope with the punches, when the punches roll, that expression. She said, when you have to roll with the punches. And she's asking us not to make a difference between one country, another country, and another country. From where I am, Lorraine is saying, from where I am, it is a tiny speck, and everyone is in the same place. There are really no differences. Yes, of course, there are societal differences, economic differences, medical differences, but she uses the word plight. The plight of man and the plight of women is the same on earth. They're arguing they're arguing. And this is because Ed is saying to her, don't you feel you have had enough say while you were alive, that you were given a voice? And she's saying, no, you could hardly even see what was happening. To me, as a member of the female community on Earth, it was quite a different story. Lorraine is saying there is an imbalance between genders, and also transgender individuals have a completely different experience from either men and women that never come across truly as it should, as they should in the press. Sushant. Lorraine is pointing out Sushant. And she's saying Sushant was a man. Sushant is a man. In spirit, he represents as a man. And he has many, many followers because of his light. She's saying that Sushant in future, after 2 lifetimes, one he is in now, and after the second one, will be in the realm of masters. And what do masters do? She's saying you need to know that masters are not guides, spirit guides, as many past souls are. Masters are a rank of hierarchy, she's saying. They are in a class of their own because they work with different energies. They are able to convince. Perspectives change, psychologically firm individuals, they change people's perspectives and their consciousness. They are able to change the way people think, how open their minds are. She's making a list, how open their minds are, how much they will accept, how much they will open to, and how much they can change. This is done at a higher level than spirit guides, inner spirit guides, and outer spirit guides, and is done now by other masters. Now Ed is asking to be heard. Ed says that the disaster I mentioned will not be in India, will be in an Asian country, in a southern Asian country, but will affect four other countries that are neighboring the main country involved. Think of your loved ones, he's saying. Think of your loved ones. Think of those that you have lost contact with. Not those souls who are past, who have passed, but those who are literally around you and you can have contact with. Remember that people do not understand each other on earth, no matter what they do, and you can live together for many, many years, as Lorraine and I have lived. My ears have such a ringing in them. They're shouting. And you can live together for many, many years and not understand each other. What does this mean? Lorraine is saying this means that communication is faulty communication, is misunderstood, and communication is not effective on a verbal level. More emotional contact needs to be made. That is where the true conversation occurs. I'm asking for a break. I'm asking for a break. Pouring some tea, ladies and gentlemen. Psychic mediums have a bad name. We get criticized a lot. Criticized, misunderstood, but this is what we do. So until I can do it, I will do it no matter who criticizes me. That is the way we live and die and work. Ed wants to talk about time. When we were stuck in a spiritual place, we were able only to communicate with those who sought us out. And our time was fairly limited in terms of parallel times. We had space and time was limited. We were unable to transcend. Parallel time means that you and your consciousness, I'm saying consciousness to mean soul, your soul, its consciousness, it can be in different timelines and have different experiences. In the third dimension, you will perceive a very weighty existence. He's making almost an obscene gesture, a very weighty existence. And lo and behold, he says, but lo and behold, you will be playing out your fantasies in other timelines. What does this mean? Lorraine is chiming in. Lorraine is saying that means you can have a relationship with someone you have not had in your third dimension. And your consciousness plays it out in another dimension. The notion of timelines is very difficult for humans to believe, let alone understand. She's taking it from, she's speaking like an academic. She's speaking as if she were on a podium, and she is almost shouting. I'm trying to get it out the way she's saying it. You cannot understand all of what you don't see. Many people are very, very limited because they don't see and they don't allow themselves to see what they don't believe, she's saying, what they don't believe. When you go to sleep and hear something, when you wake, you think it was a dream. You again go to sleep and you hear the same voices, but you don't remember the dream this time. That tells you that there are presences there to contact you. Speak to them, talk to them. Don't wait for a session like this to communicate to souls that have passed. Believe me. Ed is telling her to calm down, relax. Now let me speak. Getting those sleeves up, he's looking like a ghost in his father or grandfather's shirt, white shirt. When you think of time, when you think of space, especially, the same idea of time pertains to space because it is infinite, infinite, infinite. She's shouting, infinite, infinite. Infinity is like a painting. That is an illusion where a stairway to heaven never ends. A stairway, a circular stairway, seems to begin and end in the painting. It's an illusion. It seems to be an illusion for a human to understand. Also, those, and this is Lorraine is saying, those of you who are here today and those that will see this again in another time or in the future are people, I believe, who are interested in these ideas. Just a word of warning. A word of warning to say that when you become part of a community like this, you need to remember that energies travel. There are energies that travel and are negative energies and positive energies, light and dark energies. Those of you who have no protection, or those of you who are weak, may suffer from this. What to do? And Ed is coming in and saying what to do. Don't give them a recipe like in a kitchen, he's saying, like something to eat. He's saying to tell them about what they need to do to cleanse, what they need to do for protection, what they need to do to understand when negative energy befalls them. Your sensitivity is prime. Your sensitivity means that you have to concentrate, and it's the amount of concentration that you're able to muster up that will allow you to become aware and sensitive to certain energies. Also, you need to know that when you feel the first instance that you feel something negative has befallen you, they use this word befallen you as if it falls on you, has come to you, means that it may be one of a series of events that will open your eyes to negative energy around you. Lorraine is saying it's not enough. That's not enough. Ladies, men, all of you out there need to know that negative energy just doesn't make you have a car crash, she says. Negative energy becomes enrooted deeply in organs, your body, your mind, and causes disarray, causes illnesses, causes varying degrees of viral tendencies. These need to be cleaned and cleared. They're both now saying, tell them about the chants, tell them about the prayers, tell them about. Whether it is chanting or praying or making and reciting and affirmations, these messages, because they are messages, they're chiming in together. Lorraine and Ed they're chiming in together, saying they're affirmations, prayers, invocations. They are verbal communication, verbal utterances to the gods, the universe, whatever language you want to use. That is a request, an imploration, a thanks, a request for guidance. Everything you need and feel, no matter how small or how large, needs to be requested and reaffirmed. Ed says, you want $1 million. It doesn't work like that, obviously. And finally, Lorraine is lighting up. She's laughing. She's saying, okay, it's not a way to bring your money into the bank. However, she's saying, I have had many incidences myself. I have experienced many incidents myself. I have known people who have made requests of this kind, and their fortune has turned around. I will put in my 2 cents. I have as well. Had the same experience. Ed is saying, at times, prayers may not be enough because many people have an automatic mechanism during the day at certain times, or as an automatic mechanism, they pray without the intentions behind it, without the intentions fully being brought to bear on that request, on that question. Lorraine is saying concentration, the area of concentration is very important. When you need to request help, when you need to ask for forgiveness, when you need to ask for repentance and thanks, and to give thanks, you need to do so fully aware that you are doing that. Ed wants to go back to the tragedy he is foreseeing within the year from now to June of next year in Asian countries. Will it be predictable? I am giving you that information, Ed says. Will it be predictable by authorities, governments, and people who are not in the psychic realm? He's saying no. No amount of secret service units or intelligence will be able to prevent this. Of course, and Lorraine is saying, people may think then it is an act of a god or a lord or of a divinity. There is part mystery in this, she says. There is a part that we need to define and accept as mystery. But there is a part that has to do with the development of mankind and mankind's decisions. They are inextricably linked. We were asked when we were alive, what happens when you leave? Where do you go? Can you choose? What occurs? And I always responded then, it was a matter of negotiation. As if when the soul passes, it is in an area of understanding and intelligence that makes it fully aware of its capabilities. Now I can say people do not automatically pass. We did not. That is something that needs to be researched in its own right. We hear talk, Christelle has even said this, people remain earthbound, their souls, because of fear, tragedy, and trauma. This in part is true, but it also is due to the readiness of the spirit to leave the body. We both, myself, Lorraine, and Ed, who passed before me, had been researching paranormal phenomena having to do with the soul and what the soul can do in terms of kinetic movement, psychokinesis, she's saying. And I, too, along similar lines, was researching the power of the soul to change people's consciousness. We were not ready. And now I can say that is a way of the soul to cling on to life, believing that they needed to do more. Ed is talking about music. He's saying music. Music is one of the gifts of all time. I was not a musician. Lorraine was not a musician, but we were able to appreciate music because our interest in music was this. You have all experienced how certain sounds can literally move you. You feel the impetus to move. You feel a certain vibration. It literally flows through your body. Sounds create a vibration that influences the soul. And that was the limit of our connection to music, even if it was limitless. The bang. People talk of the Big Bang as if it was a sound that could begin a world, an existence, and a sound that can end an existence. It may be described in the metaphor of sound, but in reality it is vibration. Vibrations have influence. Vibrations influence everything and can be felt as sound or movement. There are universal laws on the earth, and I smile. This is Lorraine saying, I smile now when I hear that, because the universe is infinite and it seems odd to have something called universal laws. I would think they would be infinite too. One of these laws is, as all of you know, the law of attraction. And all of you, every one of you have had the experience of thinking of someone and having them contact you, thinking that a payment wasn't made yet in your favor, and the next day it arrives. These are what we commonly believe as the law of attraction. Lorraine is talking about a bathtub. She's talking about a bathtub. When you talk, she says, when you talk, I need a break. I have tea here. I'm pouring. She's talking about words that are like being in a bathtub. When people talk, some of the words at the beginning and some of the words at the end, you can hear. The what's in the middle is mishmash, soapy water, she's saying. The toes and the head, those are words acting like key words. Language just is inadequate for us to understand each other, as I said before. But there are those things that come out of the bathtub that are important. Ed is saying they're key words, they're key words, they're key words. They are like key words, but they're not key words, they're key ideas, they're key notions. Okay, both of them are telling me you have to write, you have to write, you have to write. It's not for me. People need to take, and they're showing me, take a pen or pencil to paper and write. The mind is influenced by the writing process, more so than by the oral communication. Therapy done verbally is faulty, they're saying. What is more helpful for any healing, any form of healing, and they're screaming this out, they're screaming, are things you write on paper, literally on paper, because your mind changes as the words are written. No, Ed says this is not automatic writing. We are not talking about that, but the idea is the same. Take physical paper and a physical pen or pencil, writing instrument, to see where your mind goes. Okay, see where your mind goes and understand your mind through what is being written. It's not an exercise. It is a daily practice, similar to brushing your teeth and washing yourselves, ablutions. This is to be done systematically in order for humans' consciousness to develop. They're talking about their life lessons, all right? They're jumping around from one thing to the next, and Lorraine is very strong in this, and she's saying lessons. They're not lessons. They're not lessons. We experienced, my soul came into this life to experience communication to many people through strange beliefs, but in the context of a community. And I did that, but I had not finished my experience. That is why I became trapped and earthbound. Edwards is saying his major life lesson or experience, the experience his soul wanted to have in his former lifetime, was to influence people through the writing process and not through the oral process. He exhorted, he's saying, I shouted to people I knew and I mentored students. I tried to influence them on concerning the need for them to communicate in this way. There is a body, Ed, there is a body. The body has a soul. Taking a break. The body has a soul. At times, the body has many different souls when the person, the human, has experienced extreme trauma, and they need to be removed. An aligned individual, a soul that is aligned to divinity, has one body. There is one soul. People call, when they speak of, and he's going like this, the chakras, there is talk of a third eye and above the crown, and there are selves. People talk of different selves. The ego, the higher self, the lower self. There is a self, one self, that a person can elevate to an extreme amount of awareness. It is more proper to speak of refined awareness and less refined awareness. Lorraine is saying you're confusing them now. You're confusing them now. Just stop talking like that. And she said, I'm going to get the vacuum cleaner and like a ghost buster take you in. She's joking, finally joking. She's a heavy deal. This Lorraine is very strong, very heavy boned. Her bones are, I'm seeing, she's showing herself as this white flowing costume. I'm looking at it as if it were the costume, but I can see that she has a presence that's very strong. She is saying, you will feel that not many of you are allowed to do this type of communicating with other souls. Or you are not meant to be doing that. Or you are afraid of doing that. If you can remove the fear, then you will be able to openly dialogue with us. And it is sublime. She's saying it's sublime for you and us. She's saying, I want to look at people's questions. I want questions. And Ed is saying, but we still have so much. She's saying, no, let's see if there are questions. What are the questions? What are the questions? Okay. Let's see. All right, I have this question here by Be in Your Center Tarot and Oracle reading 444. I think that we can see the whole question. Yeah. Can you ask about archons? I think it's called archons. And from Gnostics, are we living in a matrix? How can we free ourselves from this matrix? No, it's not a matrix, actually. There is nothing to be free from, actually. Of course, you all are living in an infinite space where there is complete freedom in the soul domain. In the soul domain. In a human domain, humans are limited. They're limited by their mindset. They're limited by the amount that their mind will allow them to expand. That is the only limitations. Those are. It's difficult to go from that to the questions. Let's see. I'm moving along until one of them says, okay, good, take that question. Okay, this is the question they have chosen. Anubhuti Verma. God has all the power to stop the injustice or wrongdoings. Why doesn't he stop and protect innocent souls from suffering and injustice? Lorraine is saying, remember, we spoke of mystery. The mystery in this type of suffering and what you call injustice is and may be to serve a purpose for others to understand and change their way of thinking. Everything is done for a reason, but nothing is done for us to understand. Please forgive me if I talk in rhymes, she's saying. Ed is saying, just tell them they're not meant to know everything. And he's saying, the bottom line is that we are not in control of our lives. If you can understand this, and if you can accept this, on earth you will live 1,000 lives. And to live 100 years at least. I hope that has answered your question. This is what they have replied. Let's take a few. Unicorn Diva, is ascension happening now? I'm going to take a sip of tea, just a second. Is ascension with a capital A, I see. Ascension means rising. Ascension, the reason for, is ascension the reason for coronavirus? For cleansing. They're both saying no, no, no. It's like stereo here. No. Viruses, world events, world tragedies, typhoons, high waters, earthquakes, all of these occurrences are a dynamic process that occurs to communicate the fury of the universe, or the gods, or ascension, or descension, or any word that you choose out of that, Lorraine is saying, out of that bathtub, any word you choose, but it is unexplainable. It needs to be accepted as such. One suggestion, Lorraine is saying, one suggestion, an important suggestion for those who have asked these questions is this. Go to sleep at night knowing that you have done all you can in your day and you are happy with what you have done. Wake up giving thanks for a new day, knowing that it may not end when you go to sleep. Remember to be aware of every step you take, every move you make, and those around you, how they influence you and you influence them. A cliche would be to be in the moment. I'm not saying that because, as we mentioned, there are many moments, there are many timelines. Be where is what I'm saying. Be aware of occurrences. Ed is saying, tell them, but tell them there's a limit. All right. He's saying, there are more existences of spirits around you than we would like to believe. As humans and as spirits, we now can confirm around you are so many spirits. You walk the streets, you speak to other people, there are a myriad of spirits around you. Remember that being aware also means being sensitive to those spirits. That is a blessing and a curse because they influence your every moment. The true freedom you can aspire to, this is Ed, is for you to parcel out the noise. Get from the spirits only information you want. Don't let them control your every moment. Oh, well, I don't know if it answered that question, but that was long. Okay, Mrs. Brown Source asks, do we have, what time? Oh, I've got to go. Do we have destiny? And can free will override destiny? Ed is saying, he's going like this. They're not listening. They've listened only partially to the idea that free will and destiny work hand in hand. There are things you are meant to be that you can change. There are things that are not meant to be, but that you can attain. We have a very strong influence on our turn of events. I don't know how these two people ever made it for more than a few years together. They're such strong characters. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. I think there will be more of these kinds because I'm getting impulsed rather a lot by especially souls that need to pass. And so I will be doing that on on a one-off basis as it comes. Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be here on Saturday, as I've announced, live again. Bye-bye. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.